Today's discussion is all about pelvic girdle. So this is still the continuation of our previous presentations regarding anatomy or radiographic anatomy. So to start with, the pelvic girdle is composed of two hip bones. It is joined by a joint anteriorly and by joining with the sacrum posteriorly. So the hip bones are also known as the coxal bones, pelvic bones, or os coxa. Or in some texts or in some books, it is known as or referred to as innominate bone. Anteriorly, it is united or it is joined by the pubic symphysis. Posteriorly, it is joined with the sacrum. The bony pelvis is composed of hip bones, pubic symphysis, and the sacrum. It is a deep basin-like structure, and its functions include the provision of strong and stable support for vertebral column, pelvic and lower abdominal organs, and it connects the lower limbs to the axial skeleton, and thus the term pelvic girdle or girdle. So, in our previous discussions or presentations, we have discussed already the shoulder girdle. So, in comparison with the pelvic girdle, our shoulder girdle is not attached with the vertebra, while the pelvic girdle is attached to the vertebra through the sacrum. Your shoulder girdle is shallow joint at the glenohumeral joint, whereas for pelvic girdle, it involves deep joint between the head of femur and the acetabulum. The shoulder girdle is built more for movement than strength. However, the pelvic girdle is more on strength than for mobility. Let's discuss the parts of the pelvic girdle. First, we have the ilium. So this is your ilium. Anteriorly viewed, this is your ilium. This one is laterally viewed. The ilium is composed or it has a body which is the main component of your acetabulum, about 2/5 of it. There. Here is your portion of your ilium on the acetabulum. The ala means a wing. It is a broad and curved projecting superiorly that can be seen as the prominence of the hip. So that one. There are three borders of the ala. The superior border, also known as the iliac crest. The anterior border, it has the anterior superior iliac spine or ASIS. You have the anterior inferior iliac spine or the AIS. For the posterior border, it contains the posterior superior iliac spine, that is the PCs, and it also contains the posterior inferior iliac spine, the ascis is a prominent area to palpate when locating for the iliac crest. So it is located anteriorly since it is your ascis anterior superior iliac spine. The iliac crest from the ascis to the posterior superior iliac spine. So it runs from the ascis down or going posteriorly to the posterior superior iliac spine. So this is the length, or this is the coverage of your iliac crest. The iliac fossa is located medial surface of the wing. So I have shown you the anterior surface or the anterior view of the ilium and the lateral view of the ilium a while ago. This is the medial view of the ilium. So medially, you can see the iliac fossa, which is located medial surface of the wing, and it forms part of the ala. So it's here. The arcuate line is an arc-shaped ridge that separates the body and ala of ilium, part of the circumference of the pelvic brim. So it runs through here. The auricular surface is a large rough surface that articulates with the sacrum. It is called auricular surface because its shape is distinct, like the shape of our ear. So it is articulating with the same auricular surface of the sacrum. The greater sciatic notch is an inward curvature below the auricular surface. So the auricular surface is here. So below it is a sciatic notch or the greater sciatic notch. The body forms approximately the pubis has a body which forms approximately 1/5 of the acetabulum. So it is the least that forms the acetabulum because 2/5 of which belongs to the ilium, 1/5 of which belongs to the pubis, and another 2/5 belongs to the ischium. The superior ramus forms the acetabulum and it projects inferiorly and medially. So here is your superior ramus. The inferior ramus is towards lateral and it curves inferiorly and posteriorly to join the ischium. So towards the ischium. The ischium forms 2/5 of the acetabulum. So approximately 2/5 of the acetabulum. So the least component of your acetabulum belongs to the pubis. So 2/5 for the ilium, 2/5 for the ischium, and 1/5 for the pubis. The ischial tuberosity is a roughened expanded portion of the body which carries the body weight when we are in sitting position. So kapag nakaupo tayo, dito tayo umuupo. The body of the ischium contains the ischial spine. Here. So the ischial spine is a projection at the superior or supero-posterior border of the ischium, while the lesser sciatic notch is an indentation just below the ischial spine. So dito siya. So just below the ischial spine is the lesser sciatic notch. Just above the ischial spine is the greater sciatic notch here. The ischium has the ischial ramus. So the ischial ramus form tuberosity and it projects anteriorly and medially to connect to the inferior ramus of the pubis. So the ischial ramus connects to the inferior ramus of the pubis, so much so that it forms the obturator foramen. So the obturator foramen united rami of the pubis and the ischium. So it is formed by the pubis and the ischium. The acetabulum is composed of the ilium, ischium, and pubis. So it is composed of the ilium, ischium, and the pubis. While the obturator foramen here is composed of the ischium and the pubis. The proximal femur is an important component of the pelvic girdle. It is part or included during radiography of the hip and radiography of the pelvis. The proximal femur is composed of the head, neck, greater trochanter, and the lesser trochanter. The head articulates with the acetabulum. So the head lined with red, and here is the outline of your acetabulum. This one is the femur neck, the greater trochanter, the lesser trochanter. The fovea capitis is a small depression at the center of the head. It attaches to the ligamentum femoris. So this one is the fovea capitis here. While this red mark here is the ligamentum capitis femoris. So let's talk about angulations. The neck projects medially. So the neck of the femur projects medially. So from vertical line, okay, the neck is projecting medially. So it makes the body of the femur projects medially. So here is the angulation. Moreover, it is also projecting at an angle of 120 degrees to 130 degrees superiorly. So from the long axis of the femur, it projects at a certain degree about 120 to 130 degrees. So here is the angulation. When viewing the femur, proximal femur laterally, so from the lateral side of the body, so you will be able to see either anterior or posterior angulation. In this case, our femur, our proximal femur, is angulated anteriorly. So anteverted yung ating femur head. So the femur head angulates anteriorly about 15 to 20 degrees from the body. So from the longitudinal axis of the femur, you will be able to see the anterior angulation of the uh, femur head, no, through the femur neck. So this one is the 15 to 20 degrees anterior angulation. So angulated anatomy to image receptor plus a perpendicular central ray to the image receptor equals foreshortening. So during radiography, if an anatomy is angulated, just like this one, during exposure, it produces a foreshortened image of the anatomy. So tracing the trajectory of the shape from here, it produces the margin of the image like this, while this one on the other side or on the other end of the image. So an angulated anatomy to the image receptor, this one is your anatomy, and this is the image receptor. It produces a foreshortening if the central ray is perpendicular. Whereas a parallel anatomy to the image receptor plus a perpendicular central ray to the image receptor equals no shape distortion. So during radiography, if the anatomy is parallel to the plane of image receptor, it will produce a no foreshortening of the image. So there's no shape distortion. However, always remember that all radiograph or image are magnified. There is always size distortion. Why? Because there will always be a gap between the image receptor and the anatomy of interest. Therefore, it gives us an image, or it gives us a magnified image. So because of the small gap between the anatomy and the image receptor, there will always be a size distortion or magnification. The trochanters are located between the body of the femur and the base of the neck of the femur. The greater trochanter at the superolateral part of the femoral body, while the lesser trochanter is located at the posteromedial part. So nasa likod yung ating lesser trochanter. So the lesser trochanter is at the medial side but at the posterior side as well. So posteromedial part of the proximal femur. The intertrochanteric crest is a prominent ridge between the trochanters on the posterior surface. So the more prominent crest or ridge between the trochanters is the intertrochanteric crest. So the intertrochanteric crest is located posteriorly. The intertrochanteric line is just a line or less prominent ridge connecting the trochanters anteriorly. So sa harap naman siya. The femur neck and the intertrochanteric fracture, the femur neck fracture and the intertrochanteric fracture are two most common site of fractures in elderly. So if you talk about femur neck fracture, it usually somewhere here on the femur neck. Intertrochanteric fracture, from the word itself, between the trochanters, the greater and the lesser trochanters. So if fracture on these sites occur, it usually results in avascular necrosis if not promptly managed. So femur neck and intertrochanteric fractures are usually surgically managed by orthopedic surgeons. Total hip replacement arthroplasty, partial hip replacement arthroplasty, compression hip screw fixation, and arthrodesis are some common surgical interventions. So let's talk about the hip joints. No? So these are the articulations already of the pelvis. So first we have the hip joints. So the hip joints are the articulation between the acetabulum and the femur head. It is a synovial ball and socket joint, and its movement is in all direction. So movement of these joints is in all direction. The pubic symphysis is between the two pubic bones. So location, anterior midline. It is cartilaginous symphysis joint. Next is we have the sacroiliac joint. So this is the third and last joint, no, of the pelvis. The sacroiliac joint is between the right and left ilia with the sacrum. So it is between the auricular surface of the ilium and the auricular surface of the sacrum. So it is a synovial irregular gliding joints, and its movement is very limited or none. So it is located here, no? So here you have your sacroiliac joint, and on the other side. Next. Now let's compare the male and female pelvis. So the female pelvis, when compared to the male pelvis, the female pelvis is lighter in structure. It is wider and shallower. Its inlet is larger and more oval. The sacrum is wider and it curves sharply posteriorly. The sacral promontory, ito po siya, is flatter. The shape of the female pelvis is favorable for childbearing and delivery. So, napaka-importante. It is very important that these are the characteristics of female pelvis because it favors childbearing and delivery. So, the brim of the pelvis or the superior aperture, or also known as the inlet of true pelvis, is an oblique plane starting or traversing from the sacral promontory to the upper margin of the pelvic symphysis pelvis, no? Pelvic symphysis rather, or pubic symphysis rather. So this pelvic inlet is drawn like this. So from the sacrum to the pubic symphysis. So if you draw a line between them, so that is the pelvic brim. So from the upper anterior margin of the sacrum or sacral promontory to the upper margin of the pubic symphysis. So this oblique plane divides the pelvis into false pelvis and true pelvis. So what is false pelvis and true pelvis? The false pelvis is the greater pelvis because it is the greater non-bony region of the pelvis. So it is the region of the pelvis above the pelvic brim. So this is the region of the greater pelvis. While the true pelvis or the lesser pelvis is the region below the pelvic brim. It is bony in nature. So dito na papasok yung mga mabuto na parte ng pelvis ng tao, no? So between this false pelvis or greater pelvis and the true pelvis or lesser pelvis, between these two regions is divided by the pelvic brim, no? It is divided by the pelvic brim, the line from the sacral promontory to the pubic symphysis located anteriorly. So dito sa upper margin ng pubic symphysis. So again, we have discussed the pelvic brim already, the superior aperture or the inlet to true pelvis. So that line is here. While the inferior aperture or the outlet of true pelvis is from anteroposterior, it is measured from the tip of the coccyx, which is here, and the inferior margin of the pubic symphysis, which is here. So drawing a line between the two, this is the inferior aperture or the outlet of the true pelvis. Horizontally, it is between the ischial tuberosities. So the region between the inlet and the outlet of true pelvis is the pelvic cavity. So this is the inlet of the true pelvis, while this line is the outlet of the true pelvis. So this region is the pelvic cavity. In radiography of the pelvis and hips, proper use of positioning landmarks is essential to prevent positioning errors. The iliac crest, for the iliac crest, have the patient inhale deeply, while bilateral palpation is performed to locate the highest point of the iliac crest during exhalation. So you locate the highest point of the iliac crest during exhalation through bilateral palpation. So RadTech we must secure verbal consent from the patient before palpating the highest point of the iliac crest. So take note, we have to palpate the highest point of the iliac crest. So why do we need to palpate bilateral iliac crest? Why not one iliac crest is sufficient? We need to palpate or locate the bilateral iliac crest, highest point of the iliac crest, because it gives us a clue if the pelvis is rotated or oblique, or if the pelvis is relatively in true supine position. So we don't just locate one iliac crest, but bilateral iliac crest. So, dyan natin malalaman kung rotated, nakaangat yung kabila nung pelvis o hindi. So, it is an indication for us to gauge if the pelvis is in true supine position. Still, for the localization or in localizing anatomic landmarks, so the greater trochanter is also used. So the highest point of the greater trochanter is palpated just below the soft tissue depression lateral to the hip. So locating the highest point of the greater trochanter would give us the same idea or view that we are in the same horizontal plane to the midpoint of the hip joint or coccyx. So if this highest point of the greater trochanter is located It means to say we are at the midpoint of this hip joint. Whereas for the greater trochanter, the most prominent point of the greater trochanter is located here. It is in the same horizontal plane as the pubic symphysis. So instead of palpating the pubic symphysis, which is a highly sensitive one, we will just locate the most prominent horizontal plane of the greater trochanter. So the most prominent point of the greater trochanter is located there. So medial rotation of the leg presents itself better. So we can easily palpate this most prominent point if we ask or assist the patient to medially rotate the leg if without contraindication or without severe pain experienced by the patient. So, medial rotation of the leg presents itself better, as well as it avoids foreshortening of the femur neck on radiograph during radiography of the thigh or femur and the hip and radiography of the pelvis as a whole. So other localizing or anatomic landmarks mentioned in our atlas for atlas radiography atlas includes the pubic symphysis, ischial tuberosity, and the tip of the coccyx. These landmarks, however, are not usually utilized by radiologic technologists during procedures because of sensitive issues and of course difficulty in locating them. So the most comfortable, easy to use landmarks includes the iliac crest, the ascis, and the greater trochanter. So with that, I'd like to end this presentation by saying thank you for your continued support by subscribing, sharing likes, and clicking the notification bell. Uh, Again, thank you and God bless. Bye-bye.